This is brilliant, but this, I think I like more. Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today I feel like a little kid on Christmas, but instead of Santa delivering the presents, it was Gunfire Games delivering the goods. Last week we did receive Remnant 2's brand new DLC announcement, The Forgotten Kingdom. Fast forward to yesterday, Gunfire Games has now released their Archetype reveal trailer for the new class coming in the new DLC, the Invoker. And man, does this look like a pretty banging class. Finally a class that's going to be all about elemental damage and also skills. So I would like to quickly just discuss everything that was kind of in that reveal trailer for the new class that is coming in the new DLC next week. Literally next week. So friggin' hyped, man. I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but I do mainly want to talk about the new class as well as some quick theory crafts that I have kind of put together involving the new Invoker class with some of the already existing archetypes inside Remnant 2, just so you guys can kind of get an idea how Invoker might play inside of Remnant. So I'm going to quickly just go over some things in the trailer. So straight away, as soon as the class reveal trailer kind of starts up, you get a very in-depth look at the new armor set that is obviously going to be available in the new DLC. And I gotta say, this looks really friggin' cool. So a massive props to the design team on this one. I really like this armor set. Basically right after that, you're going to notice the Invoker class on like the bridge fighting like two new enemy types, or just one new enemy type, but two enemies there, new enemy type. The new pot guy, I'm just calling him Little Pot Boy. Looks like they're going to be shooting out fireballs as well, which is gonna be fun, I'm sure. But the main thing that they showcase a little bit here on the bridge is the new melee weapon, the new staff weapon. It does seem like it's gonna be shooting out lightning orbs and then you detonate them, or I'm not sure how it works. I'm just using my two eyeballs here to try and assess the situation, but it does seem like you are kind of just shooting off orbs, and then you definitely have like an AoE with it. But it is cool to kind of see the inner workings of the staff now a little bit more in this trailer, and it does look like it might be a really good melee weapon. We also get a look at the new crossbow as well. Now going through the clips, it does look like the crossbow shoots two arrows at once, so you get at least two hits that register on the enemy target. But either way, the crossbow looks really good. We only have one crossbow in game and it's fucking dog shit, so it's nice that we're gonna have another one, and it looks really cool. But I'm just hoping at least it's a good viable weapon in Apocalypse difficulty. I just realized I'm like kind of breaking down the trailer anyway. I didn't want to do this. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of... So obviously through the whole trailer you're gonna see the Invoker skills, the tidal wave, the AoE ground thing, I've already forgot what it's called, that gives you increased elemental damage, and then the Way of Yahusha, which is going to give you increased critical strike and increased critical damage to any target that you hit, because it will infect them with brittle. And then when you just build up all these like little dust devils, and then you can AoE them, you can have max of 10 charges. So the skills do seem like they're going to be a hell of a lot of fun to play around. We do get a look at one of the new bosses, I think, at the Stone Warden. Obviously we don't get to see too much of this, but that is a kind of like, I think, a little bit of a sneak peek of one of the bosses that is going to be inside the new DLC. I did mention the little pot boys, but there are multiple other enemies you do see in this trailer. There's a howling wolf that staggers you out of your attack, which seems very interesting. There seems like there's a big new tree guy that just plants his head into the ground and does some AoE thing. And there's going to be some new big knight thing, kind of like the root rocket launcher guys in Yasha. It seems kind of like that design, but now they have a big shield. And there's one little sneaky thing at the end, and you kind of get to only see it for like 1 or 2 seconds. And it does seem to be a big boss. I'm not sure if it's the world boss of this DLC, but at the very end, you're kind of seeing this big thing shooting lots of fireballs out. I think it is at 2 minutes 34 in that trailer. I could be wrong, but it is close to the end. You literally see it for a second. You kind of see like some arms moving around. There's like a million fireballs coming at you. I don't know if that's the world boss. Who knows, but either way, it looks fucking menacing. Now we're going to go over the Invoker's perks and skills. These did get made public online. I'm not sure if the community data mined this or if the devs just released this on Twitter or whatnot. I have no idea. All I know is that I saw it on Reddit and they are the Invoker's perks. So straight away, if you guys don't know, the Invoker's prime perk is going to be so friggin' disgusting, it's not even funny. So the Invoker's prime perk is going to give you double skill charges, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, you heard that right, double your skill charges. So if you have 1, you now have 2. If you had 2, you now have 4, so on and so on. Now I know what you're probably thinking, whoa, double skill charges? Does that mean if I use the hyperconductor amulet, will I get doubled that skill charge. So if I have 4, I'm going to have 8. Doesn't work like that. The hyperconductor does still pull from your base skill charges. So if you only had 1, you will get double from the hyperconductor, and then you will only get the 1 doubled again from the Invoker Prime perk. So you only have 3. That probably made no sense at all, but I hope you get the point. So I don't think you're going to have any crazy skill charge builds running around, but who knows, there might be some spaghetti coding there, and you might get double with the hyperconductor, and that's just going to be ridiculous. So now for the perks, we have Entranced, which is the main damage passive perk. This is going to increase skill damage by I think 30% and elemental damage by 15%. It's also going to increase your crit for elemental damage and also skill damage, which is nice. So this is the first class that has elemental damage on its passive damage perk. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this actually does play out. There is some decent elemental stuff, but I would like to think with this DLC, they're probably going to add in a lot more stuff that's orientated with elemental damage or weapons that do elemental damage. Hopefully. I feel like we're lacking a little bit of long gun variety with elemental damage. All we have is fucking fire. We have Aphelion fire, spark fire, shotgun fire, and the savior also fire. Oh, I mean, I know we can put the elemental mods on any other weapon, but please can we just have a gun that does lightning or corrosive or something. So the next perk is Communion. Now, so Communion is going to reduce your skill cooldown by 1%, heal you for 2% for every 3 seconds that an Invoker skill is active. I did forget to mention that when the Invoker's Prime perk also gives you 10% skill cooldown when you use a skill. So this with Communion and Invoker skills having quite long durations, I think we're going to see some very interesting builds come out of this DLC. I am so fucking hyped. Mind and Body is really good as well. You're going to get 5% movement speed and 5% damage reduction while an Invoker skill is active. And then to top it all off, you got Soothsayer, which is going to, every time you use a relic, you're going to increase your Invoker's skill duration by 20%. Like, I really think you're going to have, yeah, some pretty nutty builds with Invoker. Jesus Christ. And also to top that off, you get 25% increased relic use speed while an Invoker skill is active. Now that is very good. So overall, I'm pretty hyped to see how Invoker is going to play out inside of Remnant 2. The skills have definitely got me the most excited, and being able to play around with this double skill charge. Alrighty, so let's jump over to some of the theory craft I have kind of put together. Alrighty guys, going over some quick theory craft now. I just switched setup. Yeah, how trippy was that? Yeah, whoa, bet you didn't see that one coming. Alright, so one that I am very, very excited to try out is Invoker and Challenger. Now the main reason I'm so excited for this is one, like I mentioned before, I'm really hyped for the skills. I think the skills are going to be very, very fun to use. But now we get double skill charge. You're telling me I can have 2 charges of Rampage? Get out of here. Get out of here. And then on top of that, like I said, you can check here. You get on skill activation, reduces all skill cooldowns by 10%. You're going to have 2 charges of Way of Kalula. You have 2 charges of Rampage. You can get a total of 40%. Skill cooldown reduction. And then I've gone for skill cooldown, have an extra 10% less, and I've also gone with more duration, so we can be in Rampage and have Way of Kalula for longer. Got Legacy Protocol here. I'm not sure if this is going to stick because the amulets are one of the biggest damage sources we have, but Legacy Protocol might be okay considering we might be in Rampage for like indefinitely, I don't know. Reduces skill cooldown by 20% and increases skill duration by 15%. So now with the new trait card that we do have for Invoker, Gifted, it is going to increase our skill duration by 30% when you fully max it out. So we have 30% on the trait card, we have 30% from the amulet, and also the upgrade on the relic heart. So in total, we have 60% increased skill duration. Haven't worked out the maths too much, but you know, you can't do it in your head. You've got more than 50%. You're going to have at least over 30 seconds of uptime with Way of Kalula, which depending on how much lightning gets dropped in that time might be kind of insane. But then on top of that, Rampage, you have 10 seconds to build up these charges. It does refresh every time you get a charge, but when you do go berserking, you only have 15 seconds. I think you're probably going to get around about 24 seconds out of Rampage, but you're going to have 2 charges. you're gonna have 2 charges, and then the cooldown, I don't think it's showing here. It isn't showing the cooldown here, so it's probably going to be a lot less because of the upgrades that we are taking. It's going to be very interesting to see how long you can stay in Rampage with this like Invoker Challenger build. I think shotguns get the best benefit out of Rampage. Not everything, but because of the way that just the way that the damage perk works with Challenger, you need to be close to enemies. Shotgun, I feel like it's just no brainer. I've got the Corrupted Rune Pistol here, just gives us that extra 10%. More damage to enemies when we use our mod. But this is going to be interesting to see how strong, one, the skill is, and then also how strong having 2 charges of Rampage and being in Rampage indefinitely is going to be. This is going to also be very interesting to see with Medic, because you are going to get the shield. You're going to get 2 charges of the shield now. You do have that up for 10 seconds. You could probably get that to about 15, 16 seconds, maybe even more, I don't know. And the cooldown on that is pretty forgiving. It's not the worst, but I feel like you could probably reduce that by a fair bit. And you're going to be very, very tanky with Medic and Invoker as well. Our next one I think is going to be very interesting to see is obviously Engineer and Invoker. Engineer has a skill that does elemental damage with the flamethrower. So I'm not sure if this is going to work, but it'd be interesting to see. When you pick up the flamethrower, it counts as skill damage. And when the flamethrower is on the ground, it counts as all damage or summoner damage. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the way I want to test it is when you pick it up, it should be double dipping off Invoker's perk, Entranced, which gives us skill damage and also elemental damage. So who knows, maybe you might be able to run around with the flamethrower and just delete enemies left, right, and center. You are limited on range with this, so I do think the impact cannon is probably going to be the way to go. My one hope and prayer for the DLC is that they might add in an amulet or a ring that lets your skills do elemental damage. I feel like that'd be really, really freaking cool. So it is going to be interesting to see how Engineer fares up with Invoker. Obviously, I want to know if we can get that double dipping on damage with the skill and elemental damage that Invoker has with its perk. I did choose the Way of Murderer, however you say that. This is going to increase your elemental damage. You're going to like put out a massive AoE root thingy, and it's going to infect targets with gloom. It also is really good for co-op as well. It's going to really help your friends out that you're playing with. But it does inflict targets with gloom, and gloom is going to increase incoming elemental damage by 15%. It could be pretty crazy, or it could be really doo-doo. I don't know, but I think this is going to be really fun just to see how it works. And if worst comes to worst, impact cannon might be the way to go anyway. Now, last but not least, a setup I think is going to be very interesting to see if it actually pairs well together is Gunslinger and Invoker. The main reason I would like to try this is because Quick Draw just recently did get changed, so it has 2 charges, or has it always had 2 charges? I can't remember now. I can't remember, I'm sorry. But with the prime perk of Invoker, you're going to have 4 charges with Quick Draw. So we're finally going to be able to unleash our inner cowboy and nuke everyone with our revolver. Well, hopefully in this DLC, we might be able to find out. So we're going to have 4 charges of Quick Draw. I've got Silver Ribbon, which is going to increase our skill damage. I mainly did this because we got Way of Leusa. This is going to be interesting to see how this works out. When you use Way of Leusa, you're going to apply Brittle to the target, which is going to give you this juicy 5% crit and 15% critical strike damage. Very nice. So you are going to generate Sand Devils through damage or kills. And you can have a max of 10 Sand Devils, and then you reactivate the skill, you unleash all the Sand Devils, doing a 15-meter Sandblast, which is very decent. Amplitude is going to boost that very nicely. And it's going to do 100 elemental damage per charge. So you can get 1,000 elemental damage from a fully charged up Way of Leusa, that's pretty decent. That's pretty decent. I think it's worthy to note that Invoker's also going to probably double dip on all their skills that they have, except for the one that just puts the AoE on the ground, because this is a skill and it does elemental damage. So I do think Invoker skills are definitely going to be very, very strong, but again, we're just going to have to wait and see. I do feel like this is a bit of a wild card there, but I think it's still going to be interesting to see if this does pair well together. Now, besides my 3 very, very rough theory crafts here, I do think Invoker's just going to work with every single archetype. I think it really is just going to slot very nicely in with a lot of builds. The only 2 classes that stand out I can't really think of anything for is Summoner and Handler. I think Summoner Handler with Invoker is maybe not going to be a very good pair up, but again, we'll have to see what kind of items, and maybe there's just something I'm not thinking of. I'm not exactly the brightest crayon in the box. Either way, I'm super, super hyped for the new DLC to drop next week with the new class Invoker. It's going to be fun to try and work out how we get the class. And if there's going to be a crazy Easter egg like the Anguish involved in this DLC, who knows? Either way, I am one happy camper. Well, hopefully this video didn't drag on too long, guys. I didn't want to make it too boring. It's just me talking shit, basically. But hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Appreciate all the love and support as always. And until next time, stay safe. Peace out.